This might be the worst reaction video ever because I don't disagree with a word that he's saying. Welcome back to returning viewers. My name's Andy and I am the Code Rebel. This morning I'm going to do another reaction video, although there might not be a lot of reacting because I kind of agree with everything he says. It might just be a regurgitation, seconding, nodding along video, but I thought I would share. He doesn't need me to share because he's got a lot more subscribers than me, but I thought I would share this because it kind of is, I watched a little bit of it and I'm going to do a full reaction to it now because I think it's fantastic. So let's switch over. This is CJ from Syntax. It's a really good channel. Subscribe if you think it's as good as I do. I've subscribed. Here we go.
Different video today. I'm just gonna rant. I'm just gonna
Realize
talk about my thoughts, and you can tell me what your thoughts are in the comments, whether you agree, disagree, whether you're feeling the same way, etc. But I used to enjoy programming. Now my days are typically spent going back and forth with an LLM and pretty often yelling at it or telling it that it's doing the wrong thing and getting mad that it didn't do what I asked it to begin with. And part of enjoying programming for me was enjoying the little wins, right? You would work really hard to make something, build something, or to fix a bug, or to figure something out. And once you figured it out, you'd have that little win, you'd get that dopamine hit, and you'd feel good about yourself and you could keep going.
Absolutely. If you've done something yourself, it's worth a lot more, and a lot more in experience, a lot more. It's more of everything. Why you do this for yourself is for the wins and for the success, for the victory when you feel like you've beaten the system. And AI has taken that away. It definitely has, because if you've used AI to do something, like if you've just fed a prompt in and got it to write the whole program, you've done none of that. You've done none of the work. I don't know. I see why we do it and why we've gone that way. And maybe I'm not the best person being out of the mainstream of development and programming for 3-4 years now. Maybe I removed myself before this kind of really took off. But coming back to it, I've maybe de-skilled myself a little to the point where I'm just like, we'll do this, and I don't feel like it's taking much away from me. But if I was well in the game, I would be worried that I'm going to de-skill myself using AI. Let's continue.
Now, I don't get that when I'm using LLMs to write code. Essentially, once it's figured something out, I don't feel like I did any work to get there. And then I'm just mad that it's doing the wrong thing. And then we go through this back and forth cycle. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Now, I tried to think about, why did I become a programmer? Why did I do this job? Why have I done it for so long? Why did I make this my career? And you might have different reasons for this, but one of the reasons I like programming is because it is predictable. It's logical. It is knowable. You can look into the documentation for something, or look under the hood and look into the source code, or decompile something, or watch network traffic. Like, you can figure things out. And once you have a good idea of how a programming language works, or how a system works, or how an app works, you can be sure that it's going to work that same way the next time you look at it. And that's because computers are logical systems. Programming languages are logical, formal logical languages. And that works really well with my brain. Now, when we're working with AI and LLMs, it's not predictable, right? You can use the exact same prompt and get a different response every single time. And I think this is where some of my frustration.
I'm just going to add to this. I think a lot of that changing the prompt or changing the response and the output to the same prompt is, when people are writing exam papers, we know you do it. We know you write your exam papers and get ChatGPT to do it. And it's getting easier to spot, and we can tell. Not that I'm the one picking them up, but people know. And I think you're only cheating yourself. You shouldn't be using AI to do something that you maybe couldn't do without it. It should be an assistant, not not a replacement for talent. And yeah, let's just go on.
Is coming from, because I am trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to develop workflows and be a prompt engineer or a context engineer, but doing the exact same things is producing different results. And honestly, that's not what I signed up for, right? And you could chalk it up to skill issue, but just look at the evidence, right? So if you're chronically online like I am, and you're watching all of these tweets that come out from people and posts that are just talking about, oh, you have to write this specific prompt or use this specific workflow and it'll start working, and if you're not doing it, then it's a skill issue. I've tried it. I've tried so many different things. I found things that have sort of worked, but then they stopped working. Or I've been working with a specific model like GPT-4o or GPT-5, and all of a sudden I'm getting different outputs, right? Because I'm not in control of that LLM. It's a magic box hosted in the cloud that can change at any moment, but it's always called the same thing, GPT-5 or Codex whatever, or Sonnet 4.5, right? They put this little name on it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the same every time. They're constantly tweaking the model, which means you're going to get different outputs for the things that you're running. Now, I'm looking at my notes because I'm trying to rant, but I have a lot that I want to say.
I like the video making style. It's a bit more like me of just wing it, and I really like that. Maybe it's just a developer thing where you do so much and then you've just got to empty your head into a YouTube video.
Yeah, I have a note here. I mean, I don't know how you're going to agree with this, but it kind of feels like AI-based programming has become kind of like a religion, right? You have all these big popular people on Twitter. They're kind of like the religious heads that come up with ways of working and tools that you should be using. And if you follow their patterns and you follow their tools, then magically your code will start to work. And if you use these specific incantations or prompts, you'll get specific types of outputs. But it's just not predictable. You don't get those same outputs. And people chalk it up to skill issue, but I've worked with it long enough and tried it long enough that I'm kind of done. And to prove it to you, I want to just go through all of the things that I've figured out and all of the things that I do when I'm working with AI to write programs, because you can tell me, am I missing something? And also maybe you could learn something, because I've been spending a lot of time with these tools and trying to figure out workflows. So here's what I know. If you're working with Claude or any other editor, like Claude is a CLI tool, you could use an editor like Cursor or whatever else. They typically have some kind of markdown file you can put a bunch of information in. So with Claude, it's claude.md. You can also use agents.md. In Cursor, there are Cursor rule files. But basically, the idea with these files is you can put a bunch of things in there that try to make the work with this AI more predictable, right? You can talk about what tools do you use, what patterns do you use, what libraries do you use, what dev commands there are, what's the architecture of the app. You can put all of this in these files, and AI is supposed to use that to steer it in the right direction when it's working on your app. And also AI tools can actually automatically generate these. So you don't even have to work hard to build out these files. It can generate them, you can validate them. And now, in an ideal world, you have told the AI how it should work and what it should do. In my experience, it doesn't listen to what I've put in those files. And I think this comes down to context bloat, which is a whole other thing. But I have worked so hard at crafting like the perfect Claude.md and the perfect Cursor rules, but still every now and then the AI will drift and run commands I told it not to, or do things in a way that I told it not to. And I have no fix for this. So.
And that's exactly, I'm going to second that. That's exactly how I feel, that all of a sudden, you think it's done something reasonable, it's done something terrible. And the problem is, because you haven't written it, you don't intimately know every detail of what's going through, where if you've done it and tested it every stage, you know something's working. And then you move on to the next function. And that's what you should be doing. You're skipping major parts of the process and just entrusting, it's like if somebody just got Notepad out, wrote 10,000 lines of code in one single code file in Notepad without testing anything along as they went. And then, surprise, it doesn't work. And all of a sudden, how do you fix that? They don't know how to fix it. They don't know where it's broken. They've got no idea, and no idea what's working. And it might give you a line number or whatever to trip up on, but that might just be where it's like kind of tripped up on. It could be anywhere else. Or something else could be causing it. And it's a lot of work to go back through it. It's a lot more work. It's more work to go back and fix what AI has done wrong than it is to just do it yourself properly the first place with a plan. That's what I'm finding. Sorry, let's go.
That's extremely frustrating. The other thing is when you're working with AI, don't ask it to just code without making a plan first. So this is my approach to building and working on things with AI is I'll ask it to I'll ask it to come up with a plan. So I'll say, plan this out. This is what I want to build. This is what we want to do. Let's come up with a plan. And typically I tell it to write that into a markdown file. So plan.md. Because I don't want to lose that in the chat window. I want that to be basically a part of my code base that describes what we're building and what's coming next. What are the different phases? And AI is pretty good at coming up with this. And then I have to do the work of validating it and making sure that it's a good plan. And then from there, don't just immediately say, okay, the plan is good. You obviously have to approve it and then gradually work through the plan. You wouldn't just say, okay, now go implement this 30-step plan. You would work on one step at a time. You would tell the AI to work on a specific phase. You'd validate its output, and then you'd move on. I've done this for lots of apps, and it works for some, but again, every now and then it starts to drift, right? The same prompt gives me a different output, or the rules that I gave it, it starts to drift from it. It doesn't follow those anymore. And there are tools that have been built that allow you to work in this way specifically, right? So Kiro was one of the first to popularize it, but GitHub has come out with, I think it's called like SpecKit. You might see on the channel that Scott is actually working on his own list of open code commands and agents that kind of like give you this more structured flow for working with AI. And I think it's like, it basically makes you feel like you're doing the right thing because you're gradually working through steps. But there are so many places where an AI could do the wrong thing and you don't realize it because you can become so accustomed to kind of just like accepting the output or not completely validating everything. And so for me, spec-driven flows are decent, but they're not perfect. And I've gotten better results by just writing it myself and not having to depend on the AI.
Yeah, and just to add a bit more to this, I don't think it's unique just to coding with AI, because if you try image generation, if you want a set of nice, say, not even 10, it doesn't even take 10 images. If you want 4, 5, like a series of images, you'll define one image and you'll get the style perfect and be like, right, we'll use that style going forwards. And all of a sudden, the style of the image will change, or it'll do something crazy. And whatever you do to try and backtrack that, it doesn't work within the same chat window. You have to open a new chat window and kind of define it again and get it to work. And I don't know what it is. I'm using ChatGPT as an example for that, but that's what it does. It did it in 4.0. It's doing it in 5. If anything, it just... The more when you come across a problem with it, it's getting harder to resolve it. And it gets stuff stuck in memory and you can't get rid of it. And it just does stupid things. And it's stupid. Like it's not good. It needs more development. And this is why I'm always skeptical of using it for coding. And I haven't found it's ever given me an example where it just did something that worked great. Like off the bat, it doesn't know, and it doesn't have your experience. Let's go. I'm ranting again.
AI. The other thing is you typically work on the smallest feature possible, right? Don't tell AI to go off and build your entire app with a single prompt. You're prompting it with very specific things that it should do and not allowing it to do big, full sweeping changes, right? So I've worked with AI this way a lot as well. And then the other thing is getting AI to validate itself. So AI can write tests. So you have it write tests so that way it can run the test to make sure that the code that it just wrote is actually working. It can also do interactive debugging. So I have MCP servers set up that allow it to launch a web browser. So I use the Playwright MCP. So when it's building out a web app, it can actually, after implementing a feature, launch the browser, click on buttons, and make sure that the feature worked as it expected. However, a lot of these AI models are typically like they're goal seeking, and their goal is to get things working, which means they will write tests that are not logically sound, or they'll write simple tests that actually skirt specific edge cases so that the tests will pass. Or the worst thing that I cannot get AI to stop doing is when it's writing TypeScript code, if it can't get the TypeScript to work, it'll just put in the any type and be like, oh, we'll fix that later. Or the other thing it'll do is it'll comment, if it can't get a test to pass, it'll comment out that test and be like, oh, I couldn't get the test passing, but I commented it out and now everything's working. And it just drives me insane. But I think it's because these models are like too highly tuned to be goal seeking, right? They're not actually trying to figure out the problem or write really good tests or actually solve these things. They're just trying to get to a point where they can stop running and say, hey, I'm done. And
aren't we all? But I think that is the perfect explanation of why it does what it does and it goes so wrong. That's absolutely perfect. Subscribe to him, not me. Let's go.
It's very frustrating. And then the other thing you do is agentic workflows. This is the new hotness, right? Everybody's writing their own custom agents. And I tried this out in Claude Code. They were one of the first to add agents. And you can basically try to solve this context problem, right? So you can have Claude.md, but sometimes Claude.md might get too big, or your cursor rules, you might have too many. But with agent files, you can create specific agents like a UI expert or a test expert or a database expert. And each one of those agents can have its own specific description and can also have notes about architecture in the app or how it should work or what tools it should use for those specific types of things. And that makes it so that sometimes, or for the most part, it'll try to do the right thing because it's not trying to cram the entire list of cursor rules or the entire Claude.md into the prompt. It's just the prompt for those specific agents. And that seems to work okay. But again, I run into issues where the agents are running the wrong commands or not writing good tests. And it just hasn't worked for me. Again, you could chalk it up to a skill issue, but I've tried it and they really don't work that well. So these are all the things that I do to try and make AI work. There's probably other stuff that I missed here. If you do other things that I haven't listed, please let me know in the comments, because this is the current knowledge and state of things as I know it, right? This is how we should be working with AI. And personally, it just doesn't work as good as they say it should. And I don't enjoy it. So that's my main point there.
And I think that's it, because good developers, we enjoy what we do. There's some level of satisfaction of creating and doing it yourself and activating your mind, activating your own brain, not just taking shortcuts and getting something to do it, and doing a good job and getting that version 1 proof of concept working, and then improving and improving and adding more features and going from there. And when you do AI, you're missing out on that, and it isn't fun. He's absolutely right on that. I can totally relate.
Yeah, and so my other point here is, okay, I just rallied off all this stuff that I know about AI and all this things I've been doing to work with it to try to get it to work. And typically what you would see online is if you haven't been using these tools and you haven't been trying them out and trying these specific flows, you're falling behind. You're going to become a basically useless developer that's not up to date on the times and that like can't use these tools and can't work in the right way. And I disagree. All of the stuff that I just listed off, I could learn in a week or less, right? Because as programmers, as developers, we spend our entire careers figuring things out, right? It's literally part of our job. And all of the stuff that I just listed are things that you could figure out. It's not something that you need to spend a year with. I'm confident that I could spend a week with this stuff and still be getting the same results that I'm getting now. So the argument that if you don't stay up to date on this stuff, or if you're not using these flows, you're going to fall behind, I think.
Yeah, and absolutely. The first time you write something, it's hard. But normally when you write it, you add your own kind of code file on top of that. That's what I always did. So, for example, I had, and it's a basic, simple one, but I used it all the time. I had a SQL Server connector, and I know that you can just write that on the fly and do it every time. I didn't. I had a file that I knew my functions and what I was going to do, and I just feed exactly what I need, like the connection parameters, and it's all built separately in that function. So you've done it once, and you've got that one set of codes, and every time you need an extra function, you add it to that file and take it forwards through everything you do, and update all the things with it, and move it back. And you have that one up-to-date code file that's getting, refined and better. And that was your like learning kind of thing. And you didn't have to rewrite it, taking a week every time. You just took the whole lot with you and on your way. Yeah.
is invalid because of who we are. Now, if you're completely new to programming, I don't have any advice for you. I don't know what to say because you kind of, actually, I do have advice. My advice is learn to actually program. Don't just try to vibe things, because you're going to hit walls where the AI can't figure it out, and then you're not going to be able to figure it out either. And the thing is, I rarely hit those walls, because when AI can't figure it out, I figure it out because I've been doing this for a long time. So yeah, that's my advice for any of you that are new to the field, is just learn the field without AI, because that's what the rest of us did, and it works. It works.
Yeah, you're not learning to be a developer if you just get an AI to write everything. You were learning to take shortcuts, and that's all you're doing. And when the shit does hit the fan and everything does go wrong, you ain't going to be able to fix it. Neither is AI. Like, it doesn't know. It got you into that mess. It's not going to get you out of it. You know, you're an idiot if you think the same type of thinking that got you into a problem can get you out of it. And that's why you've got to be adaptable, and you've got to learn.
Yeah. Another note I have here is everything's just competing for your attention and your money. If you spend any time on X, there is a brand new model launching every single day. There's a brand new coding tool. We did an AI coding tool tier list here on the channel, and there's just so many comments mentioning like, oh, you didn't mention this tool, or you didn't mention this tool. There's literally dozens of tools that you should be using to build out your stuff. And they're all marketed in a way, well, if you use this tool, it's going to work exactly as you need it. And I've tried a lot of the tools. I really have. They're all just wrappers for the foundational models released by OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, and then a few others. So there's like Quinn and like the smaller companies. But basically, they built the models, and everyone is just building tools that are wrappers around those models. And of course, they all have slightly different agentic flows. They have all slightly different tools built in, slightly different planning tools, and that might give you a slight edge when you're working on your stuff. But it's not that much of an edge. And at the end of the day, all of these tools are iterating so fast that they're all kind of reaching feature parity and informing each other on what they should be adding. And all of that to say, use the tools that work. So even with all of these tools that have been coming out, I basically just stuck to Claude Code and Cursor. I definitely want to give OpenCode a try, but those are the ones that I've stuck to. And but please tell me, if I would have used any of the other tools, would I still have run into the problems that I talked about at the beginning of this video? Maybe not, but probably.
I think you would have, definitely. And they're all, it's like you said, they're all built on the same flawed rubbish underneath. It's not rubbish, it's good. It is good. It's good as an assistant. Don't put it in the driving seat, which is what I said all along. Don't do that. One function at a time. You test it, you make sure it works, and you correct it with your own knowledge yourself, and read it first and understand what it's doing before you just copy and paste it somewhere and you end up bricking something and going to backups. But you don't know how to restore backups because you don't have the experience and the knowledge and the training because you cheated to get there because you used AI. Let's go.
Right, because they're all based on the same models. Okay, so I think I'm done. I think I'll end this with what am I going to do? What are you going to do? And I have decided that I am going to take a 1-month break from AI coding tools. I am going to spend a month where I write the code and I make the plans and basically just go back to how I was doing the things 2-3 years ago. And we'll see how it works out. And ultimately, I'm going back to what I enjoyed, right? Because I talked about it at the beginning of the video. That's what I enjoy about programming. That's what I enjoy about this career and this job. And maybe it'll make me feel a little bit better because I'm not yelling at an LLM every day. Now, I do realize that I'm in a very privileged position, right? So I work at a company that does not force me to use AI. And if anything, it encourages me to explore different AIs or different ways of doing things. And I basically have complete and total freedom. I realize that some of you out there are being forced to use AI by your work. And you kind of have no choice. So for that, I don't know what to tell you. I think maybe you could pretend like you're using AI, but then maybe go back to doing the things the way you were doing them before. And I also realize that not everyone is building the same kinds of apps I'm building or running into the same issues, but that's potentially because we're building different things. And so you can have your complaints about what I talked about, but I would say that if you're trying to build the same things that I'm building, you would be running into the same issues, and I'm very confident in that. Okay, that's all I got. I think I'll check back in a month and let you know how things went. And yeah, let me know if you like this kind of video. My plan is to not edit it. You'll see if there are any cuts. I think it's just straight to the camera.
The perfect way to make videos.
But that's all I got. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one.
I really like that. I'll switch back to me. I really like that. Thanks, CJ. I think it was a really good point. It was really relatable to me. If you liked my edition and think I added value, give me a like, give me a subscribe, buy me a coffee. Definitely subscribe to CJ on Syntax. I'll put the link in my description. That was a fantastic one, and I think it's just voicing what we had. And I hope you enjoy your 1 month AI detox, and I hope you come better out of it with a refreshed mind. You get happier. You enjoy what you're doing, because that's the biggest part of the problem, is not enjoying what you're doing. And yeah, enjoy your month detox. Come back feeling refreshed. And I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how much better you feel. Did you learn new skills? Did you feel like you were losing your own programming skills from using AI? I think everybody periodically should have an AI detox if you're heavily using it for something, because if you can't do it without it, you shouldn't be doing that. You're just not very good at it. That's brutally what it is. And I know we're in a world where, if you set your mind to it, you can do anything. Well, that's great, but we're not all set out to be great at everything. I'm not set out to be an Olympic swimmer, for example. Fine. Bet they can't program and do coding. I'm not bothered. And that's my take on it. I'll stop ranting now. Thanks, CJ, and I'll see you next time.